Welcome to Can I Park Here? Brought to you by FindAFashionTruck.com. Nache and Astral's mission is to inspire future and existing small business owners. They don't claim to be experts. They're simply trying to figure this all out, just like you.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Can I Park Here? I'm Nache Snow, and I'm here with
Astral Riles.
In today's episode, we're going to get a little bit personal. I am going to be interviewing Astral as she talks about how she is juggling working with Find a Fashion Truck, her 9-to-5 job, while also battling anxiety and depression.
Yeah, today I just wanted to be a little vulnerable, I guess, because this is actually kind of difficult for me. But my goal with this is to increase awareness on depression and anxiety as an actual mental health issue. And a lot of people don't get that. And I want to share my personal issues and my ups and downs with dealing with it while, trying to do my part-time gigs and my full-time gig and still have personal relationships with friends and family, etc. So it's all a lot for me, and I wanted to get it out there because I know that there are other people out there in my situation that are trying to start their own business or trying to work their way through, corporate America, and they're crippled by the anxiety and by the depression, and they're not able to really achieve their goals because they don't know what to do. And a lot of people don't know that you should really get help for it. However it is, if it's just talking to a therapist or medication. I'm by no means giving medical advice, but I'm just putting it out there that in order to deal with it, you have to address it. And really, for some reason, there's a huge stigma on, mental illnesses, and people don't like to admit it or acknowledge that they have it. But in order to deal with it, you have to address it. So I told Nache she can ask me anything she wants to ask me, and I will freely answer anything she wants to know.
Yeah, so this episode is slightly different from some of our other episodes. I'm actually interviewing Astral this time. And let's just get started. And like she said, we're not giving medical advice. She's just telling people what she's going through. And by doing this episode, we hope that, number one, people realize that it's okay to talk about it, because I feel like people do hide these types of things because they feel like they're going to be judged. So hopefully by doing this episode, it's letting people know, like, it's okay. And there's a lot of people who go through it. It's a lot of people who get help for it. And you have to acknowledge that there might be a problem in order to then get help. And sometimes, that first step is just talking to people that you really care about.
Yeah. And I think that, to be quite honest, Nache, people probably will judge me. There are people out there that might say, well, why is she telling her business like that? Or, blah, blah, blah. You know what? It doesn't matter to me, because at this point, I don't really care what other people say. You can judge me all day long, but guess what? I know what my issues are, and I know what I need to do in order to make myself better, in order to improve my life. So that's what I'm on my journey to accomplish. And this here is very difficult for me, but I'm doing it for me. So people can judge away, and it is what it is.
Well, to get started, let's start by just explaining what anxiety and what depression is.
Well, and for me personally, the depression is just feeling down, feeling hopeless at times, lack of compassion, or just feeling like you're not good enough, or I don't really know how to really explain it in depth, but those are pretty much the issues that I've dealt with. Mostly, as far back as I can remember, I've had on some level, a little bit of depression, but over the course of the years, it's gotten worse. And recently, with the buildup of the anxiety, it's starting to kind of cripple me and affect my day to day. And I can't really function. So with the anxiety, that's more of what I call individual fears. So you can have generalized anxiety, you can have phobias, social anxieties, all different kinds. I pretty much have a little bit of all of them. I have social anxieties where I can't speak in front of crowds of people. I'm only able to do this podcast right now because I feel a little bit more comfortable because it's really like I'm just talking to you, Nache. So there is nobody watching me right now. This is a recording that's, gonna be edited, and that's it. So nobody's watching me. There is no pressure. There is like nobody judging me right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more comfortable for me to do this. But when it comes down to, like I said, speaking in front of people, even just out, if I'm out at a club or just at a party, like I can't dance in front of people. I can't do anything that will result in people possibly watching me, because I feel like I'm being judged and I'm being critiqued. Like, oh my God, what if she falls? What if she does this? And then in my mind, people are going to laugh at me. They're going to talk about me, blah, blah, blah. So it cripples me. I may be out and I want to dance with my friends and my body is like not letting me move. So it's like conflicting, my head and my body conflict with each other.
Mm-hmm. Now that we have like just kind of a general explanation of, like the definition of these, like how long have you been dealing with it? And then has it kind of just stayed the same all of these years, or has it like just slowly increased and has gotten worse as you've gotten older?
The social anxiety I've always had, but it hasn't been as bad. Like, well, since you know me, so there have been times when you've seen me, dance when us girls went out to the club or whatever. But now it comes a physical pain along with wanting to get out on the dance floor and dance. Like I just can't, because I get a pain that like stops me. Or even with the depression, it's like there's always been a hint of it, but especially around the time when my mom had passed away, which was over 10 years ago. But like I said, now it's gotten worse, and the depression has gotten worse because the anxieties have gotten worse. And with the anxiety, it's like I said, it's so many different things with the social and the generalized and the phobia. It's like, it weighs so much on me that it mentally exhausts me. And that mental exhaustion leads to being more depressed. So when I get ready to do things, it hinders me. And I know with the depression, one thing that kind of plays a major part in it is my current work situation. So with my full-time job, I've been there for 8 years and I've been ready to leave for a long time. And it's gotten to the point where I hate going to work. It's like it changes my entire mood. So I know that I don't want to be there. And that it's like, I feel like I feel invisible there. And I feel that, there's really no purpose for me to be there. So when I get there, the anxiety and the depression, it's like they merge together, and I find myself just trying to get to my desk and just stay there all day and avoid interactions with everybody just so I can leave. I've had several opportunities to find another job, but there is anxiety with that as well. So I have fear that I'm not good enough, or what if I don't know what I'm doing on the next job, or what if I have to talk to people, and, what if I have to do this? What if I have to do that? It stops me from even looking. And then when I do try to look, I've gotten callbacks for interviews the very few times that I've, put myself out there to look for another job, and I'll get a callback and then I'll like freak out, and I'll either not call them back, or I'll, one time I went on an interview and I literally like shut down. Like, they asked me questions and I barely could answer anything. It's like I forget everything because I'm so afraid.
I guess is it nerves too, like a little bit of nervousness, coupled with being like afraid and the anxiety that comes with it. Right, so where maybe most people could push through it, you're not able to like get there.
Right. And I think that it's a little bit of with my current job, it's like, even though I don't want to be there, it's a safe zone for me. So over the years, I've come to figure out a way where I can avoid people, not talk to people, and just be able to get through my day and go home. And it's a place where I can deal with what's going on with me, and I'll be okay. Like, I can get through the day and go home without having to explain myself. But then if I start a new job, it's like, I don't know how I would be able to cope with all that's going on with me. So it's kind of like, I don't want to be there, but I need to be there because it's safe.
That's a tough situation to be in. And then just to backtrack a little bit for the listeners, because if someone's not going through it, they might not understand it. But you said earlier that you get a physical pain from, like, either is it the anxiety or the depression?
It's the anxiety that causes the pain.
Like what kind of pain?
It just, like, I don't know. It's like just something like it's like taking a hold of my insides and like pulling them down. So it's like I want to do something, but then I can't because that pain starts to come. Or here's another example. And I was just telling you about this earlier today, where with my, I make wall hangings and I sell them on Etsy. So this small shop owner had emailed me about doing wholesale orders. And he wanted to know, if I would be able to, fulfill the orders and such. So I haven't yet even thought about doing the wholesale orders. But lately, for the past like 6 or 7 months, I haven't really been able to do anything because of the depression. So my anxiety kicked in. Like, I started to think, okay, well, I want the money. I absolutely want to make some money, but let me see how I can shift my focus temporarily to try and pull this off. And as I was trying to think about it and think about everything that I would need to do in order to fulfill whatever order might be needed, I started to get a headache and I started to get nauseous. And that's where that anxiety kicked in. So that is another form of physical pain that shut me down. So the anxiety, it actually prevents me from functioning normally. I have a full-time job. I have 3, small businesses I'm trying to get off the ground, and I was able to do them, but now I can't. I can't, whatever's going on is not allowing me to focus on everything at one time. So I'm pushing myself to do everything that I'm doing now. I'm pushing myself to do it. It takes a lot out of me just to make myself go to a job that I do not want to be at. So that drains me physically and mentally. So I don't have much left after that. I have to figure out, okay, what's the priority? Let me focus on that. Right now, my focus is find a fashion truck. So everything else is kind of falling behind because I just don't have it in me to do, and like right now, it's like I spend so much of my time pretending that I'm okay, that drains me as well. My solution, what makes me feel better, is to isolate myself. So I stay in the house all the time. I go to work, I come home, and I stay in the house. And that's my safe place. That way, I get to shut out the world. I don't have to deal with anybody else's problems, any of that. Because the more I interact with people, the more issues I have to deal with. Mm-hmm. So I try to shut all of that out and just stay in my little corner of the world and not come out. And I know that's not good, but it's the only time that I feel semi-okay.
Now, do you have a sense of what brought this anxiety on? Like you mentioned, like when your mom passed away, and most recently you mentioned, like just the job and going to a job that you really don't like. Like, do you think that these are triggers? Do you think it was something else that triggered the anxiety? Do you have like a good sense of what is causing it? Is it just kind of like genetics, something that's always run in your family? Do you have any idea of kind of where it's coming from?
I honestly don't know why it started. I ask myself that every day, like, why is this happening to me? Like, what's going on? But, and I know that, my job probably plays a role in it too. And it's kind of like, I feel like I don't have any control over anything. And I know that that's probably a factor in what's happening, but the anxiety is getting out of control. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, and another reason that, I isolate myself is because trying to be around people and feel the way I feel, I have to constantly explain myself. And the thing with that is nobody gets it. Depression and anxiety are not recognizable mental health issues that people are familiar with. They don't realize that it is a mental health issue. They feel like, oh, well, you can just get over it. No, it doesn't work that way. I had one of my friends just the other day text me like, so when do you think you're going to get out of this funk? I'm like, what? It's not a switch I can just turn on and off. You think I want to feel like this? I don't. So my steps to try to get myself better is to, talk to a therapist and take medication. At this point, that's all I know how to do. But nobody understands. And it's getting frustrating trying to constantly explain it to people, and they just don't get it. They don't.
Well, what I think it is it's hard for people, like, number one, if no one really talks about it, then no one really understands it. And so we all know people who tend to just be in bad moods, right? And they're not necessarily depressed. Maybe it's just their personality or their character. So I think the problem is it's hard for people to tell the difference between somebody who is really mentally going through something or having a breakdown versus someone who is just a moody person. Because there are people who aren't necessarily at, your level of anxiety and depression, and they just might be moody. And so I think most people just put people in like one bucket that they feel they can understand. Like, oh, they're just like not doing well this week, but they'll be fine next week.
Yeah. And, I get that. I totally understand. That's why I try to take it that extra step. And I tell friends and family, hey, this is what I'm going through. If you don't hear from me for a couple of days, or, if I don't respond to your messages, or, whatever, it's not because something, is wrong. I just don't feel like talking. I don't want to be bothered. I try to define as much as possible what it is, what's wrong, so that they'll understand. And I even go so far as to saying, hey, how about Googling, depression and anxiety, try getting some literature on this mental health issue so that you can better understand and in turn provide a better support system for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that once I extend that to a friend or a family, and give you the option to try to educate yourself more on what's going on with me. If you don't do it, then to me, that means that you just don't really care what's going on. So that means I'm going to stop telling you about it. I'm going to stop talking to you altogether, because why would I go out of my way to try and talk to you and be vulnerable with you when ultimately you don't really care, because you're not trying to understand. So that's when I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's funny. I feel like even people who aren't dealing with anxiety and depression, they're going through the same things, right? So it could be if somebody close to whoever is dealing with a death in the family, or gets married, or it could be they're going through what you're going through, or maybe they are dealing with cancer. But anytime anyone is dealing with anything major in their life, most of the time they'll have to reevaluate like their circle of friends and really determine like who's there for them and who's not. Because I feel like those type of events usually bring those things to light. Who kind of the people are that are ride or die and who are with you to the very end. And then the other people who are just going to back away and just don't care what you're going through, or they can't be happy for you, or whatever it might be. And then you just end up having to like cut those people from your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it just grinds my gears when people devalue, what's going on with me, and they compare it to little ridiculous stuff that's going on with them in their life. Like, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend and I'm really depressed, or just something, I'm not going to say stupid, but just, it's not serious. This is not like, a health issue that you're dealing with that is affecting your life to where you can't function. It's not the same thing. And by them comparing what I'm going through to something as trivial as that, to me, that means that it basically says that what I'm going through, it doesn't really mean anything. Yeah, I get it, what you're saying, that I would have to probably reevaluate my circle and determine like who's really going to be there for me and who's going to be that support system that I need in order to, really get through this. And even though I isolate myself a lot, that doesn't mean I don't need anybody. Will be times where I'm going to need somebody to talk to, and if I reach out and I call you, then that probably means, I either need somebody to talk to or I need to get out. Like, come get me out of this house.
Well, I think that's very important, right? Because if you don't have those people or that person there, then you could become like a recluse and no one will ever see you. And all you will do is stay in the house and that's not healthy.
But in all honesty, but that's all I want to do. I never want to leave the house. This is my safe place. Yeah. Like, I always want to be here, like forever.
Okay.
Like, I'll leave out. I'll leave out to go to the grocery store or just something simple as that. And I come right back home. I don't even really like driving anymore because anything that requires me to focus, it drains me mentally. So when I'm driving and I'm driving, say, longer than 15, 20 minutes, I start to get super sleepy. Like, my eyes are really heavy and it gets to the point where I feel like I need to pull over sometimes. I try to fight through it, but it's just that focus, having to focus on the road. Because, when you're driving, you have to like pay attention to what you're doing. You have to pay attention to other drivers. You have to pay attention to everything around you. Mm-hmm. It's draining. Seriously.
Yeah. No. Now, do you feel, so far, you mentioned earlier about, dealing with it, with therapy, not to get into details about your therapy session, but do you feel like that is...
Yeah, we won't do that because you say it's creepy.
Yeah, sometimes people, she'll be like, yeah, I talked to my therapist about, and then she'll mention something we talked about or we did. And I'm like, whoa, don't bring me up in your sessions. And if you do, don't tell me because that's like way too creepy. but I'm just curious, like, is it helping? I mean, you just started, right? But so far, do you feel like there is hope by going to these sessions, like where you now have like someone to talk to that understands what you're going through?
I'm going to say, well, since I haven't really been doing it that long, of course, I'm not like cured and I'm, all better, but it's helping me recognize certain things that are going on in my life. So what I'm doing is like a combination of a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. So basically what the psychiatrist does is prescribe the medication that I need, and the psychotherapist is for the talking part. Not only am I in the process of, getting used to the therapist, and being comfortable with talking to her, but I'm trying to get the medication situation straightened out as well. Because starting a new medication, you have to figure out, okay, well, how is my body going to react to this? Is this the right medication for me? Is the dosage right? That type of thing. So I'm still in the process of trying to figure out, is this right for me? Is this the right dosage? And that could take a couple more months to get, situated. So I'm not sure.
But I think the key here, especially to maybe, those that are going through this similar situation, is that at least you took the first step.
Yeah, but I honestly can't even remember what I've mentioned already. But because I'm so super nervous, like you may not hear it in my voice, but I'm just so nervous just talking about this. You have no idea like how much I'm praying for the medication to help me, because I'm tired of feeling like this. Like I'm tired of having to isolate myself and, just stay in the house all of the time. Like people think that I'm okay. Like they have no idea that I'm going through this, but I go out of my way to avoid people because I don't want to talk to them. If I think that somebody might be about to fix their mouth to say something to me, I will run fast and try to avoid them. No eye contact will be made with me ever. Like I can't do it, so I stay in the house all the time. I don't go anywhere because then that would mean I would talk to people, and interaction with people that causes my brain to just go on overload and start thinking about things and worrying about things. And worrying is an issue. I start to worry about things that probably will never happen to me, but could happen, and that stresses me out. Isolating myself is the best thing for me, but I know that it's really not the best thing. So I need that medication to start working.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That's kind of, it's difficult because I feel like just knowing you're kind of a person that wants to do things, wants to get things done, wants to be this highly functional person. But if mentally and physically your body just won't let you, I can only imagine how frustrating that must be.
It's very frustrating. And, I have all of these jobs and because I want to make money. I want to have multiple streams of income coming in. But right now I can't do anything. Like it's physically and mentally impossible for me to continue juggling all of this stuff. I wish that with my regular job that I could just quit. I know you ask me all the time, like, why do I keep doing it? And it's a like a survival mechanism. Like, I have to survive some kind of way. And since my house is my safe place, this is where I am all of the time. I need to go to work every day, even though I want to, even though a little piece of my soul dies every time I step on that elevator. I have to go. I have to go and get that paycheck so that I can pay my mortgage and pay my light bill and my gas bill so that my safe place will stay intact. And so that I will be able to continue getting my medical insurance that pays for my therapy and pays for my medication. So I have to, even though I want to quit every single day, I can't. Survival mode kicks in.
Yeah, and I feel like that has to be extremely rough too, right? Like you have to go into a job that you hate. And even if you weren't dealing with anxiety and depression, for someone who's not dealing with that at all, that would be stressful right there. That could cause like migraines, people to be physically sick because you are unhappy with your situation. You are unhappy with that. So to couple that with anxiety and depression is, it's not good.
Yeah. So, and, I try to push myself as much as I can, and I know people out there that have depression. Some people have it so bad that they can't do anything, that they can't even make themselves go to work, and they end up losing their jobs and, stuff like that. But I pray that never gets to that point for me, but I'm going to try to push myself as much as possible. But it's like between forcing myself to go to work every day to a place that I don't want to be and mentally, dealing with that and trying to avoid interactions with people and trying not to have a breakdown throughout the day. Like I don't have don't have it in me to do all of the things that I used to do. Like I have to prioritize what my focus, my focus are. So my other jobs, the blog and the Etsy shop and, everything else it really essentially is put it on the back burner because my focus is on FFT, Find a Fashion Truck. In order for me to focus on those other things, I'd have to set Find a Fashion Truck to the side. And I know that you probably won't like that, Nache. So,
hey, the listeners wouldn't like that. Okay. Who's going to run the Find a Fashion Truck Facebook group? Okay.
Wow. And that's all I'm good for, huh?
That's your number one job right there.
Wow. Okay.
No, but seriously, well, that's understandable because if you're dealing with all these different things, you have to prioritize. And no matter who you are, even if you're not going through anxiety and depression, when you're juggling multiple things, that could be extremely stressful, especially if you throw in a job that you don't even want to go to. It makes sense that you would have to pick one, right? At least pick one for right now until you get better. And then all your focus goes into that, which may help liberate you from the job you don't want to be in. And then which may help you achieve like goals in the future. And then hopefully in the future too, with therapy, with medication, you might be better. So it's just, I think it sounds like it's just taking those baby steps and then just making sure at the same time you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And, I've had people, friends say, well, you need a vacation, you need to relax and this and that. The funny thing is I can't relax. I can never relax. Mm-hmm. My brain will not let me. I'm always on edge. I'm always worried about something. So that anxiety makes me super irritable. It makes me just uneasy in general. So that's another reason why I try to avoid interactions with people because I don't know what's going to set me off. I don't know what's going to trigger a breakdown or trigger me going off on somebody. I don't know because I just can't relax. I can't let things go. I just can't. There's no purpose for me to even attempt to go on a vacation. Like why? And I've thought about that several times. Like, why am I going to spend money to do something that I am not 100% sure that I'm even going to enjoy? Like, don't want to do anything.
Well, it sounds like, too, if like you're away from your house, away from your comfort zone, too, and you're in this hotel and you're in this other state or other country or whatever it might be, just the stress of like not being where you're comfortable could be bad.
Yeah. And, and I've noticed that sometimes when I leave the house, I start to get headaches. It's like, my body is telling me, you don't really want to be outside right now. You should probably go back in the house.
Is that primarily, though, I wonder, when you go to work, or is it even on the weekends?
Even on the weekends. Like if I'm out somewhere for too long, if I'm at the grocery store for too long, it's like I start to feel weird. Like I can't explain it, but as soon as I walk back in the house, I'm fine. So I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
My question for you now is, what advice do you have for someone that is going through the same situation that you are, dealing with anxiety and depression, and they may or may not have a job that they like or dislike, but they're just trying to make it through each and every day?
I'm going to say, if you think that this might be an issue for you, or you're dealing with something similar as me, or you think that, or maybe you are worse off, my main suggestion is to seek help. Whether that be just a simple consultation with a mental health counselor. you don't have to dive in 100% and say, oh, I want medication or blah, blah, blah. Just get a consultation, an evaluation to see where you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with trying to make sure you are good. You have to put yourself first before anything else, because if you're not good, if you're not doing well, you're not going to be any good for anybody else. So especially if you have, a family, if you have kids and a spouse or whatever, I honestly don't know like how I would be able to function if I had children. That would just be, I couldn't see it. It's not feasible. I wouldn't be able to do it.
No.
So my suggestion is just to get help. There are several resources you can go to online, or maybe, your local medical center or library to get information on mental health and mental illness. One of my favorite sites that I, visit is NAMI.org, and that's NAMI.org, National Alliance for Mental Illness. They are a great source for anything that you want to know about mental illness related, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever it is, they can give you information on it. You can also go through your insurance company as well. Most insurance companies have a mental health division that you can go to get referrals for a mental health counselor or facility where you can go to get evaluated, et cetera, et cetera. So those are my suggestions. Just get help. There's nothing wrong with seeking help.
Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give to those who know someone that may be going through this or is going through this? So someone that's in a position like my position.
I would say just be supportive. Going through what I'm going through, I need a good support system, somebody that I know or people that I know that are going to be there when I need them, that are going to understand what I'm going through, that know me and know that, yes, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go anywhere, but they know me so much so that if I take the effort to call you, it's probably a reason why. Come get me out the house, or I need somebody to talk to, something. And when I do that, when I reach out, you come because you know that I need your support. And take that extra effort to, whether it be somebody who, has whatever mental illness there is out there, take that extra step to find out more about it, because the more you know about it, the more help you can be to that person. The more of a support system you can be.
And for the listeners out there, know that what's a little hilarious is Astral and I are like night and day. So I am on the other end of the spectrum, like the happy end that drives her insane sometimes. What I think that helps too is I try to, and of course it's kind of a learning process, right? But I try to give you your space when needed at times, even though with working together, that's virtually
There's
impossible.
No such thing as space with you. I talk to you every day, all day, and it kills me. It kills me.
However,
it's like I'm being punished.
I am there to give her that push she needs. So she will never be like locked up in her house, even though I'm in DC, because I'm always like her voice of reason. And I'll always be here to be like, you need to go out. Your friends, want you to go out to dinner tonight. You know what? Just make that effort. You haven't gone out in a while. So you need to not be pushy, but try to make sure that if your friend is going through this, that they are still going out there to, within society, and doing things and not just staying in the house.
And, I've had friends that tried to push me to go out, and it didn't really go well for me. Like, I'll give in and I'll go out, and then I'm just like, I could be sitting on my couch right now doing nothing. Like, because that's what I'd rather do. Like, instead of interacting with people, I just rather be in the house. So I feel like once I'm out, I feel indifferent about the entire situation. Like, I feel that it's probably a waste of my time. So why even do it?
Yeah, just kind of small ways to stay connected, I guess. But
Yeah.
I get it, because even though you do it, you might not get any enjoyment out of it.
And I think another thing is too that bothers me is that I try so hard to please other people and not to let them down. And I have a hard time saying no, but I'm getting to the point where I just don't care anymore. And I need to just do what I want to do. So, I have these people coming to me, hey, just come out of the house, do this or do that. No, I'm not doing anything because I don't feel like it. And if I feel that if I'm forced to do something that I don't want to do, it's just going to make me worse, because I'm constantly throughout my life being forced to do things that I don't want to do. I'm already being forced to go to a job. Well, I'm not technically forced, but I have to make myself do it, even though I don't want to do it. And it's like, I'm tired of that. I'm tired. It takes a lot out of me. So if I say I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. Like, just take it as it is. Like, even though you think it's going to help me, just go away. That's how I feel. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah. The only unfortunate part about this is she could never get rid of me.
Just the thought of that.
Well, we laugh now, but it's because we've known each other so long, and I know Astral and she knows me, so we kind of get it. But we hope that at least I hope that you found that this episode to be very helpful. And I know it took a lot for Astral to just do this, she debated about this a while, which understandably so, because this is being very vulnerable. This is putting information out there that even some of her good friends don't know. So some people are going to listen to this episode and not realize the severity of her issue, like the issues that she's going through. So for her to put herself out there, be vulnerable, and possibly, unfortunately, judged by others, my hat goes off to her for that. Kudos to her. And we're hoping that, excuse me, if other people are going through similar issues that might be worse, or maybe not that bad, but still are dealing with something, that they seek help, and that they also talk to a friend, and that they also realize that they are not alone. Like, even though you don't hear about it, maybe amongst your circle of friends, that there are a lot of people out there that are dealing with depression and anxiety.
I'm sure there are going to be people that judge me. I'm sure there are going to be people that are like, oh my God, like, why is she telling her business on a podcast or whatever? But just know that, this took a lot for me to do. It's tough, and I'm trying to get help for it. I'm trying to get better because I want my life to be better. This is killing me. I want to be able to function without, experiencing physical pain by just trying to do something as simple as juggle a couple of jobs or dance with my friends, talk in front of a group of people. I want to be able to function like a normal human being. So judge away, people. It won't matter, not one bit to me, because I'm doing what I need to do to try to get myself together. And I hope that I'm at least a little inspiration for somebody else to, acknowledge what's going on with them and seek help. I'm not trying to be the spokesperson for mental health issues, but I'm just trying to, put my story out there that, so that hopefully it will encourage somebody else to put themselves out there and take the leap to better themselves. That's all.
So what we ask is, number one, I hope that you guys found this useful. And if anyone is like, oh, well, what does this have to do with owning a fashion truck or a boutique or business? If you've been listening to us for a while, you know that we are tackling a whole host of issues that surround being a person and owning a business. It's just not about business tips. It's about taking care of yourself, well-being, like eating right, being mentally prepared to deal with stress, dealing with anxiety, depression, no matter what. So we're tackling a whole host of issues. But what we ask is to join the conversation, and you can head on over to startafashiontruck.com. You can type in the word anxiety, and just comment on the post. We'd love to hear from you. Astral would love to hear from you. Just let us know what you're going through. Let us know what you think. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. And, just to recap what Nache just said, the anxiety and depression for me is definitely related to this podcast because it's affecting how I'm able to function while trying to operate a small business. And it's crippling me, so to speak. And I'm trying to work around it and find ways to get better so that I can contribute 100% to Find a Fashion Truck so that the business can be better. So if you have any stories about what you're going through, if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. Let me know if you think you might have some issues or if you have issues that you've already started to address. Let me know. If you have any suggestions for me on how I can deal with the issues that I've discussed in this episode, I'd really love to hear those as well. Anything, I'd be interested in hearing anything that can help me improve my situation. So leave a comment here. We also have a new feature at the website under the podcast tab called Ask FFT. And you can record a 2-minute question and we can answer the question live on the next episode. So you can either do that or leave your question in the comments section at the website under this episode.
All right. Thanks again for joining us and take care.
All right. Thanks for parking here.